is. Welcome y'all to CHGO Bulls. What up? Big Dave hanging out with you. Billy Donovan is staying. They have declined the offer from the New York Knicks to speak with Billy Donovan. We'll definitely get into that. And what's the guy that the Bulls should be taking a big swing on in this off season? We got some names for you that you're going to love. We'll have some NBA Finals talk as well. And now Steven's going to punch you in the mouth. Don't you worry, Nick. You don't have to pay attention at work for the next hour, sir. You're tuned in to the CHGO Bulls podcast. Thank y'all for hanging with us. I am Big Dave. You can follow me at Sports, BAWL Sports. That gentleman over there is the Quaff Wonder himself, Will the Goat Gottlieb. You can follow him at Will_Gottlieb. And on the ones and twos today is our guy, Steven. And shout out to Sarah also, who is back there doing her thing. What is going on, Will the Goat Gottlieb, sir?
I'm just sitting here still surprised by the outcome of the NBA Finals game last night. I really thought that the Thunder were going to sweep, and here we are.
You want to know who doesn't have a surprise face? This awesome.
But would you be surprised if the Pacers won it all?
You know what? I'll answer that in a minute.
Okay.
We'll get into that in a second because that is the topic we will definitely get into. But also, the big news that happened, ladies and gentlemen, the Bulls declined the offer of the New York Knicks request to speak to Billy Donovan. We will definitely get into that. And does this signal that the Bulls may be signing him to an extension? We got questions. Plus, we'll talk about the big swings that the Bulls should be taking on certain players. Names like KD, names like Giannis, names like Jaylen Brown will all be discussed, including my guy, Walker Kessler, Texas Ranger. But first, as Will just mentioned, the NBA Finals, Game 3 goes to the Indiana Pacers. Told you so. 116-107 was the final score. Tyrese Halliburton, 22 points, 11 rebounds, and 9 assists. But I thought it was more about Benedict Mathurin and that bench play that they had. The 27 points that he had in 22 minutes. Will, he was also a plus 16. The Pacers bench outscored OKC 49-18. They even had, and I found it significant that they had more blocks also. They were 11-4. So anytime OKC went to the paint and tried to do anything, even when they tried to take the three, you saw Miles Turner blocking shots of Chet Holmgren as well, man. So just talk about your surprise and wow.
I mean, look, I thought the Thunder were going to sweep this series.
Yeah.
And it's not like a sign of disrespect towards the Pacers. It was more like I think this Thunder team is just so well equipped to handle their strengths, the Pacers' strengths, and that they're just overwhelmingly good. Obviously, that was wrong, and I'm happy to admit it because this has been a great series so far, and I hope it continues to be. I'd much rather watch two teams beat each other up for 6 games and go to a Game 7 than, you know, a blowout in the first 4 games and call it a sweep. So to me, this has been great. You mentioned the 3-point shooting. Pacers had only 9 of 27 threes. This is not like they're just getting super lucky with variance and like making a million threes. They had fewer threes than the Thunder, who were 10 of 22. So this is a team that shot fewer free throws. They made fewer threes. And it's just really impressive that they're able to win despite that. And I think that's like a testament to them not just being this like high-paced team, but like, I mean, you mentioned with the blocks, they're a very good defensive team that has really taken a step forward. And we've talked about Halliburton and the way that he is not a primary scorer. And, you know, there's people that think that's a real problem. And I think it has been at times in this series, but then you have nights where Benedict Mathurin comes in and shoots 9 of 12 and scores 27. Siakam has done his job.
Oh, man, has he?
He was great last night, even though he didn't make any threes. So they have guys that step up, whether it's Nesmith making 6 out of 6 threes in the fourth quarter against the Knicks, or Mathurin coming in and making 9 out of 12, or TJ McConnell, turning up the pressure and stealing inbounds passes. They just like find a way. And it's a really exciting brand of basketball and one that I did not think would carry this far into the season where they're literally up 2-1 in the NBA Finals. So really impressive stuff that they're doing, and just a fun series to watch.
Yeah. Again, shout out to Rick Carlisle and just how great he has been, as far as coaching and his adjustments are concerned. He's definitely outcoached them from game one. And the reason I started game one, because he made OKC change their lineup in game one. Like he feared them, and they're at home, and that's wild. So Rick Carlisle has been outcoaching from the start. I thought he outcoached Tibbs in the last series as well, man. He has just been absolutely phenomenal. Pascal Siakam having 21 with no threes is crazy. What's even more crazy is Tyrese Halliburton has not attempted or made a free throw in any of these games so far of the NBA Finals. All floating, baby. He ain't taking none of that contact, and they're not calling it as well. It's not like he's shying away from it. We definitely saw him yesterday go inside and, draw some contact. But the fact he hasn't been to the line, wow, that's wild to me. I think also the story of Game 3, well, every time I watch the finals, there's always a story, underneath. And it's always about a player nobody's expecting and looking at. And I'm always waiting on those kind of stories. And it showed itself yesterday in the pest himself, TJ McConnell. He had a moment yesterday, sir. 10 points. He also had 5 assists and 5 steals. I believe he is the first NBA player to come off the bench and get 5 assists and 5 steals in the finals. I'm just really happy for him. You need these kind of players. I've always called him a pest. That's how he plays. You could tell he plays with that chip on his shoulder. He talked about even after he got his $45 million contract, he still tried to play with that chip on his shoulder, like he didn't belong in this league. And he continues to show that. He made 2 incredible plays after they scored on the inbounds when they tried to inbound it. Turnover, he calls the turnover immediately from OKC, and then calls another one on the other end of the floor, which turned into a bucket for the Pacers, man. He has just been really great.
And when the margins are so small as they are in this series, like any of those plays can be huge momentum swings that just take you on like a 7-0 run. And then you've got a little bit of breathing room, and that changes how the Thunder have to defend and changes how they are attacking the basket. So I totally agree. And they just have guys that step up game after game. It doesn't have to be McConnell every night. It could be Nembhard. It could be Nesmith. It could be Mathurin. It could be, Thomas Bryant hit 3 threes in, what was that, game 1 or game 7? I can't even remember which. Obi Toppin has had moments. So, they just have guys that step up. And I think that's a really fun brand of basketball.
Yeah.
On the other side, I found it really interesting about the Thunder that, yes, they shot a ton of free throws, 30 for the game compared to 22 for the Pacers. But it was Jalen Williams with 11. It was Chet Holmgren with 9. And then it was Shai Gilgeous-Alexander with 6. And there was a play, I think it was the second quarter, where Nembhard had 3 fouls, and he was guarding his fellow countryman, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who was driving left side, and tried to get that bump that normally he then either rips through and gets his arm between the defender's arms so we can get the rip through foul, or just falls backwards. But Nembhard stood his ground, stayed on his line, kept his arms out, and they didn't call that foul. And I've thought that, they mentioned it on the broadcast, but I thought it was a really key play, or just a key moment to help understand this series, because this is not the regular season where those guys are drawing ticky-tack fouls and getting to the free throw line 15 times a game. Again, I know the Thunder did well to get to the line and actually had a huge edge from the free throw line, but that's what I love to see. And I think that's the brand of basketball that people get frustrated with in the regular season, where there's these ticky-tack calls and it's slowing the game down and it's the free throw merchant stuff. I want to see more plays like that where the physicality is allowed, and it forces the offensive players to have to adjust and be creative and figure out a way when the defenders, I thought it was a good no call. I didn't think it was anybody got robbed on that play. It was just good, clean defense. Yeah. And I really enjoy watching that physicality in the game.
Yeah. You always want to see who's going to be imposing their will out there. And honestly, in game 3, it was definitely the Pacers. And I thought in game 1 that it was the Pacers. And I thought the Pacers were trying to impose their will in game 2 in that fourth quarter when they made their little mini kind of comeback, but OKC was just a little bit too good in that one. So honestly, man, this has been all about the Pacers for me in this series and what OKC kind of isn't doing. I do like the fact that Chet Holmgren came out more aggressive starting the quarter in the first quarter. I believe he had 12 in the first, if I'm not mistaken, but he came out super aggressive and attacking, and I like that. And it has to be about their trio, of scorers out there. Chet Holmgren, Jalen Williams, and SGA, obviously. I thought Williams was solid, but I needed him to do it in that fourth more.
He needed to make some free throws.
Yeah, man. Oh, my gosh. They were clanging free throws in that fourth quarter, but it needs to be in that fourth quarter more. But now we're going into game 4. And obviously, for me, this is a must-win game for OKC. I feel like if they don't win this one, this is a wrap because I don't see them beating this team 3 times in a row. I think they've shown that already early on this season. You're not going to beat the Pacers 3 times in a row in this series. They have to get this game because if they don't, Will, it's a wrap.
Yeah, I'm glad we are looking at it from that perspective because I never want to close the door on this OKC team because I think they're that good.
Yeah.
But the pressure that the Pacers put on you, and it's interesting because it always feels like they're the ones that are coming from behind, right? But in the series, in the greater story of the actual series and throughout these whole playoffs, they have been the aggressor. They got out and jumped the Knicks with that game where, Halliburton hit the shot off the back iron and it went up and in. And that pressure just changes who you have to be and how you have to play against them. When you are down a game in the NBA Finals, whether it's game 1 or game 3, like that really changes, I think, what kind of pressure Mark Daigneault is going to have to turn up on the Pacers in terms of their defense, in terms of their offense, in terms of their execution. So I wonder if they go back to the double big lineup. I wonder if they make some adjustments, but like this is, I think this is the first time where I actually think I would probably bet on the Pacers. Like I think they are probably in a better position to win right now.
Okay.
It's probably like 51-49 or 50-50 because I have a ton of respect for OKC and the way that they're built and the way that they play. But we've seen it now. This is not a fluke. Like the Pacers actually can win this series. And I think you're absolutely right. That game 4 is going to be really pivotal because you can't go back down 3-1. And even then, I don't think it will be over because they've got the 2 home games. Yeah, winning 3 games in a row against the Pacers team is not going to be easy.
Can I say something really disrespectful about the Pacers?
Oh, please.
And this is the big if they pull this thing off and they win the NBA Finals, I think they might be one of the worst NBA champions ever.
That is very disrespectful.
Yeah.
Continue. Why do you feel this way?
Lack of so they're what 1-2 players deep really at the peak towards
the
star
upper
level.
echelon of star.
I would say they have 9 to 10 very good players.
And that's it. It reminds me of the Pistons like back in the day when they were a good team with like Ben Wallace, Chauncey Billups. They didn't really have one superstar by any means. They just had a lot of really good players. Obviously Ben Wallace locking it down defensively. Everyone just kind of played a role. And that's kind of what I feel like the Pacers are right now.
I do think that shift is real. Like we've been, poking fun at that talking point that AK had about 9 to 10 good players. I do think that's real in this environment of the NBA. Like we can maybe talk more about this more in depth another time, but like one, I do think Tyrese Halliburton is probably not like a superstar, but he's like on the fringe of that. And just because he's not a big time scorer does not mean that he isn't a star player. I think he absolutely is. I think Siakam is kind of on the fringes of being all NBA every year. He's an all-star most years. Like they are super talented. They've got an elite rim protecting big man. I think they are a very good team, but I also think that there is some truth to the fact that it's changing now a little bit where, especially with the aprons and the way that teams have to be constructed, it's harder to put 3 superstars together. And I do think that's kind of the point Arturos was trying to make.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I understand the shift and all those things you're saying, but please remember that Chauncey Billups is a Hall of Famer. Please remember that Ben Wallace is one of the greatest defenders that ever played, and he is a Hall of Famer as well. Rasheed Wallace, for goodness sakes, man. Like Rip Hamilton. Like those are stars, but they had stars, like solidified stars who were always a threat to go to the finals. Even after that season, they were a threat to go to the finals. They just ran into LeBron James, who again was a uber star and took out that whole team in 06.
They went to the finals twice.
Right, exactly.
But all that to say, I do think that the times are changing in the NBA.
True, but you still need a star. You still need that uber star because even you mentioned Tyrese Halliburton. The discussion is he a superstar? That's the discussion. Some people think he's a star. Some people think he's a superstar.
He's a star player.
But all I'm saying is you still need that guy. You still need the superstar or even the argument of somebody being a superstar on your team if you're going to do this. So, 9 or 10 after that, but you're still going to need that guy to absolutely do it, man. Game 4 is taking place on Friday night. I said Friday night. Well, that's what I said. Why they banging and trying to yell at me about it? I told them it's Friday night. It's Friday night. Game 4, Pacers versus OKC. We're going to take our break here. When we come back, we're going to be talking about Billy Donovan because guess what, folks? He's staying put, and the Bulls are going to be taking, or should they be taking, some big swings on some big key names in the NBA. We'll get into that as well. Come on back.
Whatever the sport, the app to bet is Circa Sports Illinois. Circa Sports, it's sports betting the way it should be. Circa Sports has high betting limits, low holds, and exceptional customer service. That means no AI chatbots the MetPack can't stand. It's all people helping you place bets on your favorite teams in every game this season. They've got spreads, props, futures, in-game live lines. Circa Sports has it all. You can fund and bet like a pro from anywhere, anytime in Illinois. We've got the NBA Finals going on last night. Pacers somehow miraculously up 2-1 in the series. That means Dave is at least more close to being right than I am. And you can bet on Game 4 on Friday night, Saturday. When is it? Friday night. To place a bet on the Pacers or the Thunder if you think they're going to come back. You can download your new bookie today at circasports.com. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
You know, making money moves should be just like my man Steven and myself. It should be simple and smooth. And that's what you're going to get with Cash App. Why? Because that's how they roll. Simple, smooth, and cool. Send money to whoever you need to in a timely fashion and do it very, very easy. There's no extra hoops to jump through. There's no extra stress. And guess what? For a limited time only, new Cash App users can use that exclusive code to earn some additional cash. Seriously, it's no catch. Just download the Cash App and sign up. Use that exclusive referral code CHGO Bulls in your profile. Send $5 to a friend, and within 14 days, guess what? You'll get $10 dropped right into your account. Terms apply. That's money. That's Cash App. Rolling along with you on CHGO Bulls podcast. Big Dave, Will to go Gottlieb, Steven on production. Hey, Julia. Tyson, did Matt have a baby? He did not have a baby. Matt did not have a baby, man. He's just taking some time away.
Is there something that Matt would want less than having a child right now?
Oh, man. Less than having a child.
I feel like he'd rather Jim Boylan get rehired. That's
a good question. That's a poll question.
Maybe Billy Donovan goes to the Knicks, the Bulls bring back Jim Boylan, and Matt has a baby.
The trifecta of terror.
Trifecta of terror.
Where's Peck at on the Billy Donovan extension?
Oh,
I thought.
Let's get into it.
Where would you rank there?
Oh,
let's get into it.
That's called a segue, ladies and gentlemen. And shout out to him over there because we are taking the temp right now, ladies and gentlemen.
And
that is brought to you by Four Seasons Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric. Make sure you go to fourseasonsheatingcooling.com and get your AC correct. Well, Billy Donovan's staying put. That's what we have learned. We heard from Casey Johnson. Here's the graphic there for you. The Knicks requested permission to speak to Billy Donovan for their coaching vacancy, but were denied, per sources. The Bulls value Donovan highly for his coaching acumen, communication skills, and ability to connect with players and all members of the organization. That last statement there is what I'm focused on and kind of saw like, okay, I hear you. I get what you're saying. The Knicks, before I get into their kind of train wreck way of looking for a head coach right now, which I'm rather enjoying, Billy Donovan, man, being on their radar, and I believe he was number 5 if we're going through it, as the coaches that they selected, as they know of. I'm going to say in my brain, he was either 4 or 5. I don't think he was a top 3 called. But the fact that they actually reached out to the Bulls and requested that conversation, can I ask you, do you find that a little bit surprising that the New York Knicks reached out to the Bulls to inquire about the services of Billy Donovan?
Yes and no.
Okay.
But mostly no.
Okay.
I feel like once they fired Tibbs, it was like, okay, do the Knicks have a plan? And then the news comes out that they spoke to Quinn Snyder. They spoke to they tried to speak to Quinn Snyder and Ime Udoka and Jason Kidd and Chris Finch, and were rejected by all those teams because those teams wanted to keep their head coach. It clearly came to the front that like the Knicks did not have a plan about what they were going to do post Tibbs, and that they valued guys that are established coaches that have good reputations with their teams and their players, right? Like Quinn Snyder has a great reputation as an offensive tactician and someone who's a great communicator with his team. Same with Chris Finch, like nothing but great things to say about him. Jason Kidd obviously is one of the great players of all time, but also someone that can really connect with the players on his team and in the organization. And Ime Udoka, I think, speaks for himself. Like, he's just been incredible with the Rockets and the respect that he has within that organization. So once you kind of strike out on those, it's like, you keep looking around for coaches of that ilk, meaning established coaches that are good at running an organization, or do you look for the like up and coming offensive guru, like, you know, the Sean McVay type of coach where it's like comes out of nowhere, but then like has, you know, like the Will Hardy or Isalo from the Grizzlies. And I think they are just trying to cover their bases. It did get to a point where it's just like, you got to be kidding me. Like, this is kind of hilarious that they're just like, we have no idea what to do, so let's just call every single team and see if their coach is available.
Yeah, why not?
So from the Knicks perspective, I just think it's kind of funny, and eventually I think they'll have to turn to, you know, a Taylor Jenkins or a Mike Malone, guys that are established coaches but don't have jobs, or they will have to look for, you know, Jordan Ott, who just left the Cavaliers as a lead assistant to go be the Suns head coach, a guy like that who's getting his first opportunity. So it'll be interesting, but at the end of the day, I think Billy, I mean, he has connections to the Knicks. Obviously, he played there. He's from Long Island. He's like been in the Knicks organization and ecosystem, but he's also like a very well-respected coach. And, you know, the piece that Casey tweeted, I think was spot on. Like, the Bulls really value him as an organizational speaker. That's like something that I've really come to appreciate about Billy over the last couple of years of covering him, is like, he is the figurehead of the organization. He answers the tough questions. He takes all of the criticism or the hard questions from the media. He's really great with the players. The players really appreciate and love him, especially the younger players, I think, have not only developed under him, but also take to his approach. Modest has really talked about valuing that and just the improvements that he's gained throughout the course of his rookie year. Ayo and Kobe are very outspoken about how much they appreciate working for Billy. And frankly, like, I just don't think the Bulls are ready to do another coaching search. They like their guy. They have their guy in place. Why let him go somewhere else if they don't have to?
Makes sense to me. I think I like the way you sum that up, because that's a great point I'll start with. It definitely shows how much this front office and the players value Billy Donovan and truly want Billy Donovan, because it's not like you're looking at his coaching record, or it's not like you're looking at his post-season success for this team and saying, oh, that's why we value him. Oh, that's why we want him to stay. He's clearly getting these wins. He's always involved in Coach of the Year talk. And, you know, might coach the All-Star team and stuff like that because the team is winning. That's not what you're looking at with Billy Donovan. So they definitely value the man more so than they are looking at his actual record. And there's something to be said about that. I'm not going to dismiss that readily like that. I'm not going to do that. There's something to that. And I've always said I felt Billy Donovan is a very good coach. He can definitely coach. I've watched him win in a myriad of ways that I was surprised by how he got some wins out of this team and the scheme that he was using to go in there. I've said on this show before, Will, I've watched him in 1 year flip what this whole team's identity is, with new personnel, with new players and all this stuff, new assistant coaches, everything. He flipped it in 1 year and made it a more exciting brand of basketball to play. So that is awesome and stuff from Billy Donovan. For me, I also looked at it. I said he's a good coach, but I don't know if he's turning down a request to speak to him good coach. But again, that's up to the front office to decide. That's not for me to decide. But again, Quinn Snyder, you know what I'm saying, they turned that down as well for Atlanta. But I just don't feel like Billy was that kind of level of coach, but the Bulls absolutely do. Do I like it? No. I thought that, you should have that conversation and see. I don't think Billy was leaving or anything like that. I don't think he's going anywhere. I think he's very comfortable here. I think he has it set up really nicely here as well. Son also, running the G League team down there as well. So I think the setup is smooth. You mentioned the players that got love for him like that. I think we already know kind of how the front office kind of feels, and I touched on that part as well. But yeah, man, I was a little surprised that they said no to this kind of thing, but I understand it. And I think Billy should feel more emboldened by this, man. Like, he should feel, like, oh man, they really kind of got my back like on this kind of situation.
Well, I don't even think it's that. I think it's like they didn't even give Billy the opportunity to speak with them. So like the Knicks couldn't have made an offer to Billy. We don't know what Billy would have done or said if the Knicks had come in with an offer. He could have said no because he values the stability.
Right.
He is the third longest tenured coach in the NBA right now. Coaches get turned over every couple of years. Like he's been with this team for 5 years. We don't know what his extension situation is, how long he'll be here, but like you don't stick around that long with teams if you're an NBA head coach, period. Billy is like an outlier at this point where he's just been with the team for so long. And I think he really values being a part of building something from the ground up. This is not to say that like, I think the Bulls need to keep him at all costs, because I'm with you. Like, I think he's a very good coach. I don't think he's an amazing elite coach that you have to like fend off the offers. But I think it's more about the organization wanting that stability. And the other thing I'll say is like, we're getting some super chats about maybe a little bit of a frustration from Chubbs82 about not letting Billy go. And it's like, we can read them, but like, to me, the grass is not always greener. Sure. If you let go of a good coach, it does not mean that you're going to bring in a great coach next time around. So
sure, let's get into Chubbs with a $5 super chat. Thank you, sir. Chubbs82, amazing looking dog in that Avi right there as well. The Bulls seem determined to destroy the fan base further with the nation's rating dipping. With the national ratings dipping, don't destroy your local fan base. He also goes to say, who cares about a losing players coach? Also finishes with miss me with valuing organizational figureheads and start talking about valuing the dollar of the fan who keeps paying for a losing product. Bro, we've been on that for a long time, my friend. We've never gotten off of that. You know, that's kind of where we kind of stand. But we're talking about just in the moment of it right now with Billy Donovan and what they are looking at as far as the front office. They obviously got that value for him. They obviously hold him in a little high regard than I probably would, you know? And at the end of the day, unfortunately, that's whose decision is going to matter. If I had my way, if I had your way, like for real, there'll be some changes going on like years ago with this organization. But they value him in this way, and that's what it's going to have to be for this time being, man.
And yeah, I mean, the other thing is like, it's just, again, this is not like the Bulls or Billy had an offer from the Knicks. The Bulls blocked it. It was like, they just didn't want him to
They didn't want
talk.
him speaking.
So who knows what would have happened. I agree. Like this organization is not in a position to like not make changes that they think will be for the better. But if you're talking about like the organization not valuing the fans' dollars, like I think that's exactly the reinforcement that they're getting. Is like people continue to buy tickets, go to games, buy merch, all this stuff. Like, why would they change what they're doing? Like, if you're the organization, and I'm not saying I agree with that, but if you're the organization and business is going well and like you're comfortable with your coach, like why would you make changes like that just to make changes? I don't see the value in that.
Trick Daddy Dexter64 with the perfect statement. Crashing out via Super Chat is the best way to crash out. You are told absolutely no lies here, my friend. Also, some of the coaches for the Knicks that they looked at: Minnesota Timberwolves coach Chris Finch, Dallas Mavericks coach Jason Kidd, Houston Rockets coach Ime Udoka, the Atlanta Hawks coach Quinn Snyder, also Billy Donovan, Coach Carter, Ted Lasso, Coach Bombay from the Mighty Ducks, Coach Klein from the Waterboy, like Jackie Moon, like they looked at everybody. And from Sensei Kreese from Cobra Kai, they looked at everybody, dog.
From Sam Amick over at The Athletic, he wanted to figure out which coaches the Knicks had not contacted or request permission to speak to. And the answers to that: Pacers coach Rick Carlisle, Warriors coach Steve Kerr, Bucks coach Doc Rivers, Clippers coach Tyronn Lue, and Lakers coach JJ Redick. So those are the ones that they didn't even reach out to. Right. They didn't even put in a request. Yeah. So I think there was an element of like, could these guys be unhappy? Could they be ready to, get out of town and find a new job?
Yeah.
And obviously those guys they deemed like not even worth reaching out to. So I don't know. This brings up a question of like, how long will Billy actually be here? How long will they choose to extend him? And we don't know the answer to that at this point, in terms of there hasn't been reporting about his contract. The kind of rumored situation was that he is extended. He had signed a 4-year deal. He extended for 2 more. So this upcoming season is his last year on that extension. And we don't know if he's got another extension. There hasn't been any indication that Arturas, Mark Eversley, Billy, any of those guys who are all kind of on that same timeline in terms of their contract have anything to worry about, have any reason to not believe that they're getting extended. Because again, things seem to be going fine from the organization's perspective. Obviously, I think they would like to win more, but it doesn't seem like the lack of winning has motivated them to make any major changes in that way.
That's true. I do want to touch on that, but I'll save my soliloquy for for the other side. But I will say, if the Knicks don't walk away with a Mike Malone or a Mike Brown or a Taylor Jenkins kind of coach, man, like, what are we doing? What are you doing? I would be super confused about what's going on. Honestly, I'll be confused. Should we take this break here, Steven? Let's take this break right here, ladies and gentlemen. When we come back, we'll talk about that extension for Billy Donovan. Is it a thing or is it not a thing? And also who the Bulls should be taking big swings on this offseason. Come on back. We'll go Gottlieb. What time is it?
Game time. Who?
Game time makes getting tickets easier and faster than ever, even for hard-to-get playoff seats, or in this case, the NBA Finals. They've got killer last-minute deals, views from your seat, and, of course, that lowest price guarantee. Ladies and gentlemen, you can customize your spot, and guess what? You can figure out exactly where you want to sit and where you want to be. It's the Matt Peck and Big Dave favorite, the seat views. Where do we sit? Where do I kick up my feet? Where do I go to get something to drink? Where do I relieve myself? How far from the stage am I? And where is the exit? I get all these questions answered with Game Time, ladies and gentlemen. And, of course, they got zone deals. You can save even more when you select a section and let Game Time go ahead and select your seats. And, of course, they got that lowest price guarantee. So take that guesswork out of buying those tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, use that code CHGO, and get yourself $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. CHGO, $20 off. That's awesome. That's Game Time. Because what time is it? Game time. Who?
Dave, we've all been there. The parlay, one leg away, and then the relief pitcher comes in, gives up the walk-off bomb in the 9th inning, and it's a heartbreaker. Sound familiar? Guess what? The Hall of Fame app is built to fix that, started by 2 lifelong sports fans who also happen to be Ivy League grads. That's a flex. Hall of Fame makes parlay research smarter, faster, and data-driven. This is not your buddy's group chat full of hot takes. This is an analytics engine. The Hall of Fame app gives you access to advanced stats, historical data, and powerful tools to help you bet smarter. Whether it's MLB, NBA, NFL, NHL, or college sports, the app gives you beautiful charts, clean visuals, and real insight, not hype. They believe anything the books know, you should too, because parlays don't have to be dumb bets. With Hall of Fame, they aren't. They've got 4.9 Apple Store review with over 5,000 ratings. So for a limited time, our listeners can get a 7-day free trial and 50% off their first month when they use code CHGO at checkout. Download the Hall of Fame app on iOS or Android. Visit HOFBets.com, enter code CHGO, and you're all set.
Back on CHGO Bulls podcast, live rolling with y'all along. Thank y'all for joining us in the chat. Make sure you go ahead and crash out in that super chat, ladies and gentlemen. That is the way to do it. If you want to get it off your chest, drop a couple ducats and toss it over. Will the go Gottlieb, you see what he's got the thumbs up for. Hit the like button. Hit it. Just because Katie's not here don't mean she's not watching y'all. I'm telling you, she's watching and will creep up in your house. Don't do it to yourself. Hit the like button. Thank y'all for hanging out and roll along with us. Shout out to our guy, Steven, who is on production for us. Will, you kind of touched on the Billy Donovan extension talk, because I think that's the question that was raised, you know, after we saw that the Bulls are like taking that firm stance of, no, you can't even speak to him. Obviously, the next question is, well, oh, man, how much do you want to? Oh, I see. I know she's watching.
Katie said I'm watching.
I see her. Telling you, don't make her do it, y'all. Y'all think I'm joking. Y'all think I'm joking. She's here. She's always going to be watching. But that is just the valid question, I think, for right now. And our guy, Cody Westerland, had a tweet that I thought was interesting about it. Said there was some speculation at the NBA Combine, we were there, shout out, that Billy Donovan and the Bulls would get an extension done sometime this offseason. And this development lends credence to that thought. And I didn't think of it until he said that. So I was like, yeah, maybe that might lend some credence to that. Because as you mentioned earlier, you know, signed an extension previously, I believe maybe 2 years left, as you stated, on that. And it might be coming around that time to where they say, we want to kind of re-up with you. So for me, Will, it looks like that. And it kind of feels like that. Like, I don't know if they would let those last 2 play out and then, you know, re-sign them after that, because I didn't see them do that last time. I think this is a good way for them to, again, like I said, show that they value him and show that they want him to stay, but also, like, we want you to stay for multiple years and might be keeping you around. I don't know if you're turning down somebody speaking to your head coach and you're not having in your head that he's not going to be around for multiple years. And I don't just mean 2. I mean, multiple years. Like, he was going to at least be around 3, maybe 4 years. At least that's how I kind of look at it. And the coaches that I have seen, they have spoken to, that they said no to.
Yeah, I mean, just based on what we know about previous extensions for both Billy and the front office heads, I would guess that an extension has either happened or will happen this offseason for an additional 2 years. So next year and then 2 more after that. That's in line with what happened last time. And I think it's probably, like, in a weird way, for the best, because what happens is when you are worried about your job security, you start making bad decisions because you want to try to win now, prove that you're, worthy of the job, that you shouldn't be fired. So you start making some win now trades that are maybe a little bit short-sighted. Maybe you give up some assets down the road that you're not too worried about not being there for, right? Like, if I trade the 2031 pick, if I'm Arturis, like, I don't know if I'm going to be here in 2031. So why not trade that for a player that can help me win now to preserve my job and worry about that down the line? I think the same is true with coaches. If you're a front office and you fire your coach or you let him go talk to another team, now the attention shifts to you. All the people that are angry about Billy Donovan in the comments, as soon as he's gone and the Bulls continue to underachieve and play up to the standard that they have been, which is not making the playoffs, a low bar, by the way, then the fingers start to turn at the front office. So as long as they keep Billy there, having to shield them from the criticism of the fan base, from the tough questions from the media, which he does a very good job of handling, then they're out of the line of fire. And I think that's a value to the front office. So having more job security for them means having the flexibility to not have to make bad decisions. I think that's a good thing. Or at least, like, it prevents the Bulls from, like, putting the Bulls ownership from putting their front office in a position where they feel like they have to make big swings, which usually don't pan out. And I would rather see the Bulls not do that than do that.
That's a very good point. You're basically saying lend some structure, to the Bulls and a team that's trying to create that culture.
You don't want to be a lame duck, and, like, that impacts your decision making. So if you're not going to move, like, and that's why it's either, like, give the extension or move on. Like, don't let it. And we saw this with the Grizzlies, with the Nuggets. It's like, you can't just, like, wait for the time to be right before you fire your guy. It's like, just do it, rip off the Band-Aid and worry about the fallout afterwards. But you can't just, like, keep dangling that carrot in front of the coach and in front of the front office of, like, maybe if you do this, you'll get an extension. Maybe if you do this, and then you force them into bad decisions. And I think the Bulls, like, we're going to talk about it next with, like, the big swings that they could potentially make. It's like, they do have to be patient here. And I know that's not, I think there's a time to put the foot on the gas and, like, start to make some win now moves. But for where they are right now, I don't think that they should be risking or mortgaging their future for short-sighted decisions, because they're just not there yet. And that's the thing about Billy too. It's like, people complain about his, like, him being not a good tactician, not having created enough offense in the playoffs. It's like, the Bulls haven't even made the playoffs. Like, why are you worried about how they're going to perform, how Billy is going to do in the second round? Like, they're not close to that. So, like, keep the stability of the organization, keep them building in the right direction. And when that becomes a problem, then you deal with it. But don't create problems for yourself that haven't yet occurred.
This is exactly what I said when they hired Billy Donovan. I was like, the issues I have with him have to do with playoff adjustments. I was like, but I'm not worried about that because they're not anywhere near that
They're
yet.
Nowhere close.
So I'll worry about that later. You know what I mean? And it's sad to say we still in that kind of same seat now after 5 seasons of it, going on 6. But that's exactly true. Like, you're still trying to get your children to walk. And
preparing the children for the road.
Yeah, preparing for the road, man. You know what I'm saying? Not the road for a child. And these are men. And yeah, these guys are just still kind of laying down and crawling right now. So they're still learning to walk and taking those baby steps. And again, creating that culture is important to AK. It's important to that front office. And Billy Donovan is a colossal part of the culture. I saw a guy, Mike Walton, man, say, dude, Billy Donovan is the big free agent side for the Chicago.
He's the franchise player.
He's the franchise player. And that hit me in the chest so hard when he said that. Like, I thought it was a brilliant observation by Mike. Yes, the franchise player, as of right now, is a guy like Billy Donovan. But it's not a bad coach. You could do worse. You could be in the New York Knicks. Huh?
And again, it's like, I'm not saying that the Bulls should keep everything intact, because they haven't earned that either. They are not a good team. Like, they're a very average team in an average situation that has failed to hit their goal of making the playoffs. Again, that's a low bar. So I'm not saying everything is perfect. They should keep everything intact. But I do think that people being up towards the end of their contracts is when they feel the pressure and start to make bad decisions. And I would rather avoid that than, keep up this facade of like, well, maybe we'll fire you if you don't succeed. Like that pressure, I think, just leads to bad decisions. So I'm not saying they shouldn't make changes, but I don't think that using that as a threat is a good thing.
Okay. All right. You mentioned the big swings that the Bulls should be taking, and we'll get into it. Let's get into it right now. There are several players that may be out there and may be available for trade or sign and trade, or however the Bulls want to do it. The question is, should they be taking a look and taking a swing on some of these players, and which players should they be doing this with? I want to start with the one and only.
Before we start with specific examples, I just want to talk about the idea of it first.
Oh, this is your thing. Yes, go ahead.
Please, just to kind of like lay the groundwork, because we just talked about being patient and not making hasty decisions, but that there is a time and place to put your foot on the gas pedal. And so I want to talk about like when that is or when that should be. So right now, as we've talked about a bunch over the last couple of weeks, like the Bulls have 12 or 13 guys under contract, depending on what happens with Giddey. You've got your 2 first and second round picks coming in. So that's 15 players. That's the full roster, right? There's not a lot of flexibility in terms of going out and signing a bunch of free agents. You are over the cap already, so you can't have max cap space to sign free agents right now. And even if they did, there's not really anybody in free agency that's super exciting. There's one team with cap space, the Nets, and they're like, should we throw a offer sheet at Jonathan Kuminga or Josh Giddey? Probably not. Maybe they just use that space to take on bad contracts and trades. So the Bulls are not in a very flexible position right now. However, next year, $85 million is coming off the books.
Nice money.
Now you're in the green in terms of cap space. You can make a big play. You've obviously got to re-sign the guys that you want to re-sign. But even if you throw an offer sheet at Giddey this summer and extend him long-term, you want to sign Kobe and Io next year, you're still going to have space to bring in another, maybe not quite a max contract, depending on what you give Giddey and how other things shake out, but maybe up to a max contract in space next summer that you can use. So that flexibility is really important. I do think that there is pressure on teams to re-sign their guys and not let them get to free agency. We've heard a lot that like free agency doesn't really exist anymore, and I tend to believe that. Typically what's happening is guys sign their extensions and then they request for a trade, and then they get sent where they want to be sent while already guaranteeing their money. So with that in mind, there is an opportunity sometime between, probably not right now, but maybe at the trade deadline, as soon as the trade deadline, into next summer, where what they should be focusing on, if they are playing well and it makes sense to push some chips in, where now you can start to look at some guys that could be big swings, right? Now that's where you're looking at guys whose contracts could be expiring in a year or two, and you want to trade for them and extend them long-term so that you can add them to this core that you're building with Kobe, Mattis, and Giddey. So that's kind of the thought process here. We talked about moving up in the draft. We talked about moving down in the draft.
Yes.
We talked about the idea of building through free agency. But like, to me, this concept of trading for a star at the midseason point, and this is what the Pacers did with Siakam. It's what a lot of teams are doing now to try to build, is you have your foundation, and then if things are going well, you're playing well at the All-Star break, another team is going the other direction, they've got a disgruntled star, that's when you make your swing. And so I think sometime between now and the trade deadline, it makes sense to try to push some chips in, and we can talk about who some of those guys are.
Okay, who's the player that you'd like to start with on this?
Well, I think first let's just like talk about Kevin Durant and Giannis. Those are obviously the big names. I think it's a little premature for that, because for me, a big piece of it is that you do have to be competing already. And so if they did a trade like this, it would be a sign that they're really buying what we saw those final 20 games of the year, right? We won 15 out of 20 games. That means that we are ready to trade a couple of picks for a star player and add that to the core, and off we go. We're going to be a contender. I'm not quite there yet. I want to see how they look for the first part of the year. And after that, that's when I would think about making trades, whether it's either to push some chips in or tear it down. But like the guys on the market right now, the big names are obviously Giannis and KD. So I figured we could talk about them first. But
we can start with KD then. Let's go put that up there for him. There's Steven. There is Kevin Durant, one of the greatest players ever in the history of basketball. That is his contract status of $54 million. That's 35% of the cap, ladies and gents. And he'll be an unrestricted free agent in the 2026-2027 season. You see his numbers that he put up down there, 26 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, another 50, 40, 80 season for Kevin Durant. All 3 seasons that he's been in Phoenix, he has put up a 50, 40, 80 season. He sprained his he's playing that left ankle in March. They shut him down after that, but he should be completely fine and ready to go.
Would you make a deal for KD? Like
every day of my life? Like, yes, that's so Kevin Durant. Yes.
The offers would have to start with, I mean, matching salary is tough, right? So
sure.
KD's making 54. That means you have to get up there and probably offer them some cap relief too, because they're a second apron team. You don't really have the ability to do that, but you're talking about like Vucevic's contract, Collins' contract. They're probably not going to want Patrick Williams' contract, maybe Kevin Huerter, guys that can add to their depth while giving them some cap relief. But I think they're also going to be looking for guys that can help them win now.
Yes.
And to me, like the reason I wanted to start with KD and Giannis is because I just think it's the least likely where the Bulls are just not going to have what either of those teams are looking for. And so you look at Giannis's contract, it's a similar situation where he's not a free agent after this year, but you're talking about a big number that you have to hit. You're talking about trying to give the Bucks cap relief, which is something that they really want, and also assets that they can now build forward with because their team is going to be starting from scratch. So I probably would not trade for KD. I think Giannis, you probably have to just because he's Giannis and he's still, in the better part of his prime.
What scares you about trading for KD? Is it just giving away too much?
Yeah, his age and like what they would want for him. I just feel like you're gutting your depth, which I don't think is like the most important thing, but like the core of your team is like 25 and younger and KD is 36. Like to me that, and I'm not saying like everybody has to be the same age, but that timeline just doesn't make a ton of sense to me.
I hear you. For me, when I'm talking about one of the greatest ever, that's a little different. It would be me like saying that about LeBron and he's 40. I'm still like, give me LeBron right now to this day. And again, it's not like he's coming off a season where he didn't have, he played elite basketball and he wasn't an all-star again. And he still has that fire, to want to go hoop and to want to go play. And he's still completely unstoppable. I still absolutely would gut everything for a guy like KD and put him on my team. I don't think I'm in love with anyone that much outside of Montezuela. Shout out to you and Ayo Dosunmu, who I definitely don't want to trade. But if we're talking about Kevin Durant, then yes, I would absolutely be willing to make that kind of sacrifice to get that kind of elite superstar here on my team, even if, let's say, be realistic in it. If you're saying 2 or 3 years he has left, of being really great, dude, deal. I'll take it. And again, we're in the East, and that's the other part I'm looking at there as well. So he should be able to carry them a certain amount of way as well.
And that's why Giannis is probably a little bit more intriguing to me. One, I think he's a better player, but also the window's just a little bit longer. And I think he fits a little bit more with what they need and what kind of the way that they're building. So
let me set you up there, sir. Let me go ahead and get into Giannis Antetokounmpo. Thank you very much, Steven. You put it up there, sir. There is his contract as well. He signed a 3-year, $175 million extension. He's got a player option in the 2027-2028 season, and he is an unrestricted free agent in the 2028-2029 season when he will be 34 years old. Last season, you see his stats in 67 games, 30 points, 11 rebounds, 6 assists, shooting 60% from the field. He is ridiculous and amazing. What worries me a little bit, Will, is the quote that just came out recently when Giannis was over in Brazil. This was from Coast to Coast, which is a Brazilian outlet. They were speaking to Giannis and asked him about the finals matchup. And he said there are 2 great teams that they got there. Indiana, with my friend Pascal Siakam, is reaping the rewards, and OKC simply has the MVP. I'm rooting for good basketball. The finals are different, but I hope to be back soon with the Bucks. Specifically mentioning he wants to do it again with the Bucks.
Yeah, and again, I don't want to spend too much time on either of these guys because I think it's like the least likely out of these options. There's a bunch of problems. You mentioned it. He wants to stay in Milwaukee. It sounds like I think it's going to take a massive blowaway offer from another team for the Bucks to consider this and for Giannis to get on board with it. I feel like the only team that I can think of that really has a chance is the Spurs because they've got the number 2 pick. They've got the number 14 pick. They've got a bunch of good young players. They've got the ability to provide cap relief, and they've got a situation that you could see Giannis wanting to go to with De'Aaron Fox, with Stephon Castle potentially not being in that deal, and of course Victor Wembanyama. So I just don't think the Bulls have the goods to go out and get him. But for me, Giannis is the guy where it's like, yeah, you push your chips in.
Okay, I agree with that. I agree. Well, let's get into somebody who you feel like as we go up that ladder from least likely to most likely.
Yeah, so there's a couple of guys that, you know, I think we should talk about on the Celtics. They're obviously a team that's been in the news a lot because of Jason Tatum's injury. So they're kind of a second apron team. They've got to shed cap space, and they know they're not going to be competing at the highest level next year. So do they want to get ahead of this, start their teardown now, really bottom out next year, and sort of get ready for when Jason Tatum comes back? And the couple of contracts on there, whether it's Drew Holiday, who I don't think is a great fit with the Bulls just because they have so many guards, but both Jaylen Brown and Kristaps Porzingis to me are guys that the Bulls could potentially look at, and they could get a little bit more cheaply than they otherwise might, just because the Celtics are going to be a little bit desperate to clear out some money.
Well, then let's look at let's start with Jaylen Brown. Then let's take a look at him. There is his contract right there. He signed a 5-year extension worth $285 million. Shot out, brother. That's 53, 57, 61, and 64 is what he's going to be making. Whoa, I love it. It'll be over 30% of the cap will be an unrestricted free agent in the 2029-2030 season. Averaged 22, 5, and 4, shot 46% from the field, 32% from the three-point line, NBA champion, finals MVP, 4-time All-Star. You know the resume. He had knee surgery Wednesday. This past one that just happened, that is a yesterday, and expected to be ready for when training camp starts without limitations. That is a quote from CBS News.
Yeah, and you look at that contract, and all of a sudden you think, wow, $30 million for Kobe or for Giddey is like not that bad, because Jaylen Brown's going to be making $65 million by the end of his contract.
Yeah.
So the money in the NBA is just getting outrageously big, and that's why you always have to look at what percentage of the cap. But if you're the Bulls, and we've been sitting here for the last 3 years talking about they need a star player, they need a number one option. I don't know if Jaylen Brown is like A1 number one option to win a championship, but he did win a finals MVP. He has won a championship. He is a big wing who can defend, who can create his own shot. And he's somebody that is injured right now, is a huge contract that his team is potentially going to be looking to move. And he's in his 20s still. Like, is he a kind of guy that you would want to go after? And to me, like, I don't know if I would want to like give up all the picks that the Bulls have, which is maybe what it would take, but that's the kind of player, two-way wing who can create his own shot and who has done it, who is still in his prime. Like, that's the kind of player you want to go after.
Yeah, definitely the kind of guy you would want to make that move on. Like you said, being over 30% of the cap and making $60 million, you wonder what production are you getting from that? And
it's like the first question. The Celtics are going to want to get off of that before the contract becomes bad. Right?
Sure, absolutely, man. So, yeah, I would look at it. I can tell you that. It's not a definite done deal for me like it would be for Kevin Durant, just because of who Kevin Durant is. But Jaylen Brown, man, like I said, finals MVP, man. This is a gold medalist. This is an all-NBA basketball player. You definitely are going to take a flyer and take a look at him. The other Boston Celtic that we're going to talk about that they should take a look at is Kristaps Porzingis, ladies and gentlemen. Porzingis, you see his contract right there. Shout out to him. He signed a 2-year extension for $60 million in July of 2023, making $30.7 million exactly for the 2025-26 season. He'll be unrestricted in the season after that. He had a weird season. He was kind of injured. He played 42 games, 19 points, 6 boards, 2.1 assists, 48 from the field, 41 from 3. But he dealt with post-viral syndrome. This is from Brad Stevens. He battled an unknown illness during the regular season, and it set back his production and his play in the playoffs because it kind of came out of the blue. But Porzingis is definitely still somebody they should look at.
Yeah, and I mean, we've talked about the Bulls' ability to replicate what the Pacers are doing. Like, to me, Porzingis is the best option that could potentially be available in terms of guys that can really shoot the three at a high level and really protect the rim at a high level.
Yeah.
He's also not, deep into his prime. I think he's 30, 31 years old. So he's got some good time left in him. And maybe there's something that you can do around Vooch plus a pick to allow the Celtics to remain competitive next year, have a guy who I think Vooch plays similarly to Al Horford in some ways, who can be a ball mover, who can shoot the three, who can spot up, who can do some of those things. He's obviously not as good defensively, but like he could probably help the Celtics at a cheaper number, allow them to move on from Horford, which is something that they probably want to do. And also you talk about the availability, Al Horford is somebody who's not playing back-to-backs anymore. He's like 40 years old almost. Porzingis is missing half the year every year. Maybe the Celtics would really value that as a way to stay afloat, get somebody productive, and save a bunch of money. So to me, like, if the Bulls are looking to replicate the Pacers, they need a big like Porzingis, and he might be gettable just because of the financial situation the Celtics are in. Yeah,
that's true. All right, there's one more player to discuss, and he is my guy, Walker Kessler, Texas Ranger, ladies and gentlemen. I am excited about him, the Utah Jazz center. 3 years is how long he's been there. Let's take a look at his contract right there, ladies and gents. You see it, $4.9 million for the 2025-26 season. He will be a restricted free agent. I think an unrestricted free agent after that, but I'll double check that to make sure. He has exercise. He had a team option that got exercised as well.
Yeah, no, he's on his rookie scale deal, so he'll be restricted next year.
Good to know. He'll be a restricted free agent also. But yes, like I said, that team option was exercised. He averaged 11 points, 12 rebounds, and 2.4 blocks, 66% from the field. That means he is in the paint living and having a great time. The reason this was brought up is because Sarah Todd, who is a Utah Jazz beat reporter, shout out to her, she reported that the Utah Jazz are expected to listen to trade offers for Walker Kessler, Texas Ranger. Would you take a look at the Ranger?
I would. I think he's really one of the like premier rim protectors in the game right now. Coming out of college, like I wasn't super high on him just because I wasn't sure how he would fit in the modern NBA, but he is such an outlier good rim protector that I think he's been able to have success despite the Jazz just not being a very serious team at this point in their rebuild. That's okay. If he gets traded to another team, I think he's going to put up huge numbers. Like you can imagine him on the Lakers just being like an incredible fit with Luka and just being their backline defender that they really need. So he's the kind of guy that will be really highly sought after because of his number. And the other piece is you're going to have to pay him, right? So this is like a getting out from ahead of a situation where you're going to have to give him $25-30 million a year. And are you going to be willing to do that? And so one, I think you have to worry about the cost. Like how much does it take to get him? We saw the Mark Williams trade that the Lakers and Hornets had, and then the Lakers reneged on, where it was pick, a swap, and Dalton Connect for Mark Williams. I think it'd be even more. I think he would cost more than that for whatever team tries to trade for him. So I don't know what cost you would be willing to pay for him or for any of these guys. The one name that I forgot to mention is Jaren Jackson Jr. He's going to be up for a renegotiation and extend with the Grizzlies, but like that's the kind of guy where I might be the most willing to push all my chips in because he's an elite defender. He shoots a three. He's young. He fits a timeline, and he can create his own shot and score. But that's the kind of player that I think the Bulls really need to be going after.
Yeah, I agree. I find it also upsetting that before they drafted Walker Kessler, they needed Walker Kessler. And even 3 years after Walker Kessler, they still need Walker Kessler. I think he fits perfectly here with what they're trying to do. You mentioned the rim running with Luka. Well, I mentioned thinking about the rim running with a guy like Josh Giddey.
For sure.
Like, that's immediate kind of thing that he would do. And the fact that he knows what to do when he's in the paint. That's why he's shooting 66% from the field, because he knows exactly what to do when he gets down there, and that's put the ball into the bucket. And that would help the Bulls. But it's the defense that they have been sorely lacking and sorely missing at that position. This isn't a dig at Vooch at all. It's just that they have been missing that up and down that roster, especially in that front court. And he provides that stability immediately, and he changes things immediately for your team, just impacting them by being out there and for standing there. And that's just honestly really important. And you need that kind of stuff, man, when you're building a young roster and building a young team. And especially if you're trying to do it how the Indiana Pacers have done it. Guess what they got? They got Miles Turner down there. You know what I mean? Miles Turner is incredibly formidable down there. And you saw it in this NBA Finals when he's blocking Chet Holmgren shots, who's also very tall. All right? So it's very important to get that on your squad and to get it at a young guy with a contract that I think, you can kind of sign on to something, relatable and something that is not really crazy. I think it's something that they should definitely be looking at, man.
And basically the whole point of this, I know they're all long shots and unlikely, but this is the kind of big swing that, okay, let's say the Bulls get off to a hot start to the season. You're really buying into what they are doing, how they're playing. Kobe continues to score 30 a night or whatever it is. Giddey continues to do his triple-double thing. Modest takes a step forward. Now is the time, I think, at that point, I should say, would be the time to make one of these push your chips in trade because you have cap space. You can afford to give teams expiring contracts. You can give up some draft picks. You can add a piece to your core while trying to keep it intact before you have to pay guys and you become really expensive. So that's kind of the timing situation.
Just laughing at Alex Turek saying another white guy. The white Bulls is what they'll be. Hey, man, if they can play, be on the team, man. That's going to do it for us. We appreciate y'all checking us out and enjoying what we do, man. Make sure you hit the like button on your way out. We'll be back Friday with some more awesomeness and newness for you. On behalf of my guy, Steven, on behalf of Wilder Gottlieb, I am Big Dave. See you next time, y'all. Peace and love.
We all silly like the mayor.